My daughter-in-law drove me to a landfill and told me, "Start picking through the trash to pay your rent if you don't want me to throw you out on the street, you old woman." This was right after I'd said goodbye to my son, who was leaving for his military deployment. 2 years later, she came back, begging me for help. "I'm glad you're here. Stay until the end and tell me what city you're watching my story from. I want to know how far it has reached." That day, after seeing John off, my feet felt like they weren't even touching the ground. I adjusted the scarf he had tied so carefully around my neck before he left. "So you can feel me close, Mom," he told me. Lucy was already waiting for me with the engine running. I got in without a word. She didn't say anything either, just shifted into first gear and pulled away. I thought we were heading back home, but after about 5 minutes, I noticed she wasn't taking the usual route. Instead of turning onto the main avenue, she veered toward the dirt roads. "Are we stopping at the store?" I asked. Silence. She just stared straight ahead, her face a stone mask, the one she wore when she didn't want to talk to anyone. The windshield was fogging up from the inside, and the rain began to fall harder. "Lucy, where are we going?" "Nothing." She just turned up the volume on the music. It was that song she liked, the one by those boys who sing like they're desperate for fame. I was starting to feel uneasy. When we passed the warehouses by the port, I knew something was wrong. There were no houses out here, just industrial sheds and trucks. "Honey, can you please tell me where we're going? It's already getting dark." Lucy let out a sigh, as if my voice annoyed her. "You'll see," she said curtly, without looking at me. I didn't understand a thing. I clutched John's scarf to my chest, trying to think if I had forgotten something important. Were we supposed to pick someone up? Did I forget something at home? Suddenly, she slammed on the brakes. The car skidded in the mud. Outside, the sound of a garbage truck maneuvering sent a chill down my spine. We had stopped in the middle of the municipal landfill. "What are we doing here?" I asked, my throat dry. Lucy got out without answering. She went straight to the trunk, opened it, and pulled out 2 black trash bags. She threw them on the ground in front of me as if they were sacks of rotten potatoes. "There you go," she said. "Sort through it for anything useful. From now on, you're in charge of paying your share of the rent." I didn't react. I just stared at her with my mouth half open. "What do you mean pay? What are you talking about, Lucy?" She walked over to the car window and rolled it down slowly, like someone preparing to deliver a sentence. "Nobody gets a free ride in my house. If you don't want to sleep on the street, get to work. Take a good look at where you are, because you're going to be spending a lot of days here if you don't get with the program." "Program? Is this some kind of joke?" "No, ma'am," she said with a smirk. "The show is over. John's gone, and I have no reason to carry you anymore. But I always helped. I took care of your son when you were at work." "Well, you've taken care of him enough," she interrupted. "Now it's time to take care of yourself. There's plastic cans, cardboard here. Learn to recognize what's valuable, just like you were always sticking your nose in my kitchen. Now you can stick it in the trash." The rain started coming down harder. A cold wind soaked my back. I tried to open the door, but my hands were shaking. Lucy got back behind the wheel, rolled up the windows, and said before driving off, "Don't even think about leaving without sorting those bags. If you want to sleep under a roof again, you'd better come back with something." And she left, just like that, leaving me standing in puddles of dirty water and piles of garbage. One of the bags had torn and outspilled food scraps, rusty cans, a stained blouse that had once been white. I stood there for a few minutes, not knowing whether to cry or scream. I did neither. I just bent down and picked up the torn bag. A man pushing a cart full of scrap metal passed by and glanced at me. "New here, right?" he asked. I didn't know what to say. He just nodded, as if to say, "We all start like this." A week before John left, the house was full of people. That wasn't common. Lucy had always been private about her friends, but that Sunday, she organized everything as if it were a party. "John's friends are coming over," she told me early on. "Get ready. I want the house to look presentable." I swept, dusted the couches, and boiled some cinnamon to make the house smell nice. Lucy was walking around with curlers in her hair, the flat iron on, changing her blouse 3 times. It was strange to see her so busy. Around 5 o'clock, the young men arrived, 2 of John's friends, handsome and polite. They brought a bottle of tequila and a case of beer. Lucy greeted them as if they were politicians. Come in, make yourselves at home," she said in a voice I had never heard from her before. I stayed in the kitchen, but she came in and pulled me by the arm. Come on, Mom. Yes, she called me Mom. Let's take a picture, the three of us. I want one for when John is far away. I stood there, a bit confused, but she had already set her phone to portrait mode. She positioned herself between John and me, took my arm, and smiled as if she loved me. Tell me we don't look like a happy family, she said, laughing, as she took the photo. Then she set the table with fruit, crackers, peanuts, and even took out the fancy glasses that had been stored away since her cousin's son's baptism. Would you like a drink, ma'am? One of the young men asked me. No, thank you, son. Just being here watching my John is enough for me. John put his arm around my shoulder and said loudly, so everyone could hear, Mom, don't you worry. I'm leaving with a peaceful heart because I know Lucy will take care of you. She's got this, right, Lucy? Without letting him finish, added, Of course, it's my pleasure. This house is your house too, Ms. Marianne. I'll take care of you as if you were my own mother. Everyone smiled. One of the friends even raised his glass and made a toast to good mothers-in-law and responsible daughters-in-law, he said, and everyone clinked glasses. I didn't say anything, but I nodded. Deep down, something didn't feel right, but I dismissed it. That night, as we were clearing the dishes, Lucy passed me a napkin and winked. See, even John's friends left happy. This is how things should be, no drama. I just nodded again. I went to my room. The image of that photo burned into my memory. The morning John left, the silence was different. He wasn't a big talker, but this time, he looked like he had something caught in his throat. He dressed in his new uniform, adjusting his cap several times. I made coffee and pastries and watched him eat in silence. Before leaving, he handed me a folded letter. Don't open this until I'm long gone, he said, half joking. You take care of yourself, son. Eat well, and send me letters. I'll keep every single one. Of course, Mom. And please, don't overwork yourself. If you need anything, Lucy's here. She'll take care of it. Lucy, who was coming down the stairs with her makeup on and a smile, came over and put an arm around me. Don't worry, honey. I'll treat her like she's my own mom. She won't lack for anything. John kissed her forehead, then hugged me tight. The three of us drove in her car to the rendezvous point. Other soldiers were there, other mothers. Most were crying. I was too, but I hid it. I didn't want John to leave with a heavy heart. When the bus started moving, everyone began to wave. Lucy put on a pair of dark sunglasses, even though there was no sun. John waved a firm goodbye from the window. I watched him disappear into a cloud of dust. Then, silence. Lucy stood there, her arms crossed. There wasn't a single tear on her face. After a few seconds, she turned to me. Are you done crying yet? She asked without looking at me. Yes, I think so. Then get in the car. We have to get on with the day. She said it like someone turning off the TV after the news. I followed her. I didn't question anything. I could still feel John's last hug in my chest. I put on my shawl, grabbed my purse, and sat in the passenger seat. Lucy started the engine and began to drive. We passed through the center of town, but she didn't stop. She took the long avenue that leads toward the warehouses, just before the old bridge. Aren't we going home? I asked. No, she answered without looking at me. We kept driving. The traffic was light. The radio was playing news quietly. I asked again. Then where are we going? To get some money, she said. What do you mean? To buy something? To sell something? To work, ma'am. The word ma'am hit me like a brick. She had never called me that before. It used to be Mom or Ms. Marianne, but ma'am, that was something else. I didn't say another word. I clutched my purse to my chest and looked out the window. The road already felt foreign to me. That day I thought she was simply taking me to the market or to buy something, but unexpectedly, after Lucy left me at the landfill, the rain soaked me to the bone. I had no idea how to get back. I had mud up to my ankles and my hands smelled of rotten food. I walked for almost 2 hours, asking for streets I no longer recognized. No one helped me. No one gave me a second look. When I finally reached the neighborhood, it was already getting dark. I knocked on the door with my numb knuckles. One knock, then another. I heard footsteps inside. Lucy opened it, just a crack. You, she said, raising an eyebrow. And where are you coming from now, ma'am? You smell like a sewer. I just stood there at the entrance, not knowing what to say. Aren't you going to answer? She asked. not moving from the doorway. I walked from the landfill. You left me there. She snorted, as if it annoyed her that I mentioned the place. Well, who told you to stay so long? It's almost 8. Come in, but don't get the floor dirty. I entered in silence, dragging my feet to avoid leaving more mud. As soon as I closed the door, the washing machine beeped. Lucy raised a hand and pointed at me. Oh right, my laundry is done. Get it out, will you? I don't want it to get musty sitting in there all night. Where do I hang it? On the rooftop. Use the usual clothespins, but don't mess up my clothes. Some of those shirts are wrinkle-free. You know the drill. I nodded. I went up slowly, my shoes in my hand and my wet clothes clinging to my body. I hung the blouses and pants without a word. When I came down, the smell of food stung my nose. In the kitchen, Lucy was sitting at the table, eating dinner. There was a single bowl of soup, a piece of bread, and a glass of iced tea. Across from her, the other side of the table was empty. Did you have dinner yet? I asked in a low voice. Lucy didn't look up. She chewed slowly. Where's my portion? She smiled with the corner of her lip. That smile that never means anything good. I didn't make extra. I didn't know if you were coming back, or if you'd end up with the dogs at the dump. Lucy, I haven't eaten anything since this morning. Well, there's trash outside, she said, setting her spoon down on the plate. If you know how to pick, you can probably find something edible. People have survived unless. I didn't say any more. I turned around and went straight to the living room. I took off my wet shoes and tried to dry myself with an old kitchen towel. The TV was off. Everything was silent, except for the sound of Lucy's spoon clinking against her plate. A little later, she walked past me on her way to her room. She was carrying her empty plate and her cell phone. She stopped just before closing her door. Don't make any noise. I have an early meeting tomorrow. And where am I supposed to sleep? She pointed to the old couch, the same one where I sometimes sat to knit. There, try not to get it dirty. It's the only decent thing left. What about a blanket? Check the closet by the entrance. If there's one, use it. But don't complain to me if it has holes. She locked her bedroom door. I heard the click of the deadbolt. I stood there in the middle of the living room, with my hair wet and my fingers numb. I opened the closet. There was a frayed blanket that smelled of dampness. I settled onto the couch as best I could, pulling it up to my shoulders. From her room, the bluish light of a television screen glowed. The volume was low, but I could still hear the laughter from a game show. Outside, the rain started falling again. And there I was, in the middle of my own home, without even a cup of hot tea. In the middle of the night, the cold woke me up. The blanket wasn't covering me well anymore. I sat up, rubbing my hands together. From the kitchen, I could smell the unwashed dishes. I went to the sink. I found the plate Lucy had used, still with remnants of soup. I rinsed it, dried it, and put it away. I didn't do it for her. I did it because I don't like seeing my house dirty. Back on the couch, I picked up my purse, the one John gave me for my 60th birthday. Inside, I kept his letter, the one he asked me not to read until he was gone. I still hadn't opened it. It wasn't the right time. That night I slept sitting up on the old sofa in the living room, because Lucy had locked the door. Because I was afraid of being thrown out again. Afraid of not waking up anymore in a house that was no longer mine. 3 weeks had passed since John left for his deployment. The house didn't sound the same. Lucy barely spoke, left early, came back late, and when she was home, she seemed annoyed by the very fact that I was breathing. I kept myself busy. I swept, cleaned the stove, washed the dishes, and when they let me, I cooked a little for myself. The couch was still my bed. One afternoon, while I was scrubbing the kitchen floor with a brush and soap, I heard the front door open. 2 people came in. Lucy was laughing, and a man behind her was carrying a large backpack. "This is it," she said, tossing her keys on the table. "I told you it was quiet." "You sure there's no problem?" the man asked in a rough voice. "Of course not. It's just the old woman. She doesn't say a thing." I stayed on the floor, with the rag in my hand. I moved aside to let them pass. Then I saw them hugging by the fridge. She grabbed his chest and he put his hand on her waist, as if they were alone. I got up without making a sound and walked toward the stairs. But I didn't even reach the first step when I heard, "Hey ma'am," Lucy shouted. "Come here, I want you to meet someone." I turned around slowly. She was smiling at me, but in that fake way I knew so well. "This is Hugo," she said, pointing at him with her chin. He's my business partner. He's going to stay here for a few days. That's all. Okay. The man barely looked at me. He nodded and let out a short laugh. Good afternoon, I said. Yeah, good afternoon, he mumbled, checking his phone. Oh, and one more thing, Lucy added. If you're doing laundry tomorrow, throw his clothes in too. I don't want it piling up. I didn't answer. I just picked up the rag again and went into the laundry room. The next afternoon, while I was sweeping the hallway, I heard a thud next to the washing machine. It was Lucy. She had dropped a tub of dirty clothes on the floor. Inside were denim jeans, sweaty t-shirts, and men's underwear. Here's Hugo's stuff, she said. Wash it all. I don't have time. Can't you? I started to say. What? Tell me no. Don't start. It's your turn. Period. I took the tub and carried it to the utility sink without a word. I washed each garment by hand, the way my mother taught me. Even though the smell was strong, Hugo didn't know how to separate clothes. Everything was mixed together, dirty and balled up. That night, the house smelled of fried onions and roasted chicken. I was still in the living room, tidying the couch cushions, when I saw Lucy setting the table. Only 2 plates, 2 glasses, 2 napkins. Aren't you having dinner? I asked from the kitchen entrance. I didn't make extra, she replied without turning around. There's still rice. That rice is for tomorrow. It's not my fault if you don't plan your meals. Hugo was already sitting down, his shirt unbuttoned and the remote control in his hand. He looked at me and gave a half smile, the kind you can't tell if it's mockery or pity. I went back to the living room, opened the container I had saved from breakfast, and ate the cold rice with my fingers. I didn't want to use a plate. I didn't want to be a bother. After dinner, I heard them laughing in the bedroom. She played music. He talked loudly, without a filter. At midnight, they came out of their room to get beer from the fridge. I pretended to be asleep. I curled up into a ball under the stairs, where I had thrown an old blanket. Before closing the door again, Lucy said in a low but clear voice, "That old woman is so lucky, huh? We even give her a roof over her head." They locked themselves in. I stayed where I was. That was the first night I slept under the staircase. I put an old pillow I found in the closet there. I also had a drawer, where I kept my things, my shawl, a change of clothes, and John's letter. I made a space for myself, because I no longer felt like a part of that house. In the morning, Hugo asked me for coffee, without looking me in the eye, without saying, "Please, you got coffee. I'm dead tired." "Yes, I'll make it now. And while you're at it, is there anything for breakfast?" "I don't know. I have some beans, whatever. Just make it hot." I served him what I could. Lucy didn't even show up. She slept in late. I washed the dishes, cleaned the stove, and then went back to my corner under the stairs. That night, it was almost 10 o'clock. I had settled in under the staircase, as usual, with the old blanket and my purse beside me. I was about to fall asleep when the noise started. Laughter, loud voices, the creaking of the mattress. Lucy's voice mixed with Hugo's. They were laughing loudly, as if they were at a party. They were saying things I couldn't quite make out, but it was clear they were drinking. The music volume went up and down, and the thuds against the wall made it impossible to sleep. I got up. I walked to the hallway, barefoot. I stood in front of their bedroom door. I hesitated for a few seconds, and then I knocked once. "Lucy," I said firmly, "I need to talk to you." There was a silence behind the door. Then I heard footsteps. Lucy opened it, unhurriedly. She was wearing a short, messy robe. Hugo was still lying in bed, shirtless, looking at his phone. Lucy pulled me into the hallway, closing the bedroom door behind her. "What do you want now, ma'am?" she asked, her eyes half closed. "I want to tell you something. I called your daughter for years. I treated you like you were my own child. I defended you to my own son when he doubted you." Lucy crossed her arms. She said nothing. "Today I realize I made a mistake," I continued. "I regret it." Lucy went straight to a nearby filing cabinet. She pulled out a blue plastic folder, the kind used for legal documents. "Do you remember this?" she said, holding up the papers. I moved a little closer. I recognized my signature. "These are the papers you signed when John left," she said. "Remember I told you it was to receive mail in your name, that it was temporary?" I nodded, feeling my blood run cold. "Well, it wasn't just that. With this, you signed the house over to me. I'm the legal owner. You have nothing left." "Lucy, I didn't know." "I don't care," she cut in. "You signed it, it's valid. I have the original right here. I can make you a copy if you want, but that won't even get you a street corner. But this house belongs to John. John is far away, and he doesn't know anything, and if you tell him, he won't believe you. I send him pictures every day, and you're not in any of them. To him, you're fine." She walked to the front door. She opened it forcefully and from a corner pulled out a plastic grocery bag. Inside were a couple of old blouses, a pair of faded pants, and mismatched socks. "Here are your clothes. What you brought with you." She threw the bag onto the threshold. "Take it. You don't live here anymore. Where am I supposed to go? Weren't you so good at picking trash? Well, there you go. The world is out there. Go back to your warehouse, or wherever you learned to play the victim. I don't have an ID, any papers, not even a picture of my son. Your problem. Stop wasting my time." Hugo opened the door, stretched, and called to Lucy as if nothing had happened. "Lucy, are you going to close the door, or are we going to do this all night?" "I'm coming," she said. Then she looked at me one last time, cold, without a trace of pity. "Get out before I call the cops." I didn't say another word. I took the plastic bag, I crossed the threshold, and I felt the door close behind me like a final sentence. The street was wet. It was raining again. I had no raincoat, no shawl, no dry shoes, just the clothes on my back. I walked aimlessly. There were no taxis, no open bus stops. I passed by the corner store, but it was already closed. I made it to the neighborhood park and sat on the concrete bench, the bag on my lap. I had nothing important. No ID, no insurance, no money, not even a picture of John. Just a pair of wet socks and my name hanging in the air. The first day. I walked aimlessly, the plastic bag dangling from one arm and my wet shoes squelching with every step. I didn't know what neighborhood this was, but I kept walking straight until I saw a sign that said, Southside Wholesale Market. I slipped into a small alley behind the closed stalls, looking for some shelter. It was raining again. There, under the tin awning of a pineapple stand, I sat down, hugging my knees. It was already dark when an older woman approached me. "Are you cold, ma'am?" she asked in a raspy voice. I nodded, without looking at her. "Take this," she said, handing me a piece of stale bread wrapped in a napkin. "And for sleeping, this tarp will help. It's from an old sack, but it works. Thank you." "I have nowhere to stay. I can see that," she replied. "Don't you worry. Nobody out here has a place, but we do what we can." She told me her name was Bertha. She used to be a nurse at a public clinic, but after her youngest son's surgery, she couldn't pay the debt and ended up losing her house. "The bank doesn't forgive, but the street does. That's why we're here," she said, sitting down next to me. "You'll get used to it." The next day, I met two other women. Stella, a thin woman with faded red dyed hair, told me she used to sell flowers at intersections, but the authorities wouldn't let her anymore. "Nothing but fines and getting pushed around," she said. "Better to come here and find something to resell." And Auntie Marie, the smallest of them all, but with the liveliest eyes. She wore torn gloves and carried an old backpack full of bottles. "If you pull your weight, you eat. Simple as that," she told me straight out. "No jealousy here, only respect." That same day, they showed me where they slept. Behind an old, rusty garbage truck with flat tires. "You put the tarp there. It doesn't get too wet, only when it rains sideways," Stella said. "It's the penthouse," Auntie Marie joked. "Pure royalty." I laughed, for the first time in days. And so, I stayed, in that dirty corner, but one shared with people who at least looked you in the eye. By 5 in the morning, we were on our feet. Stella woke us with the clatter of her thermos and her voice. "Get a move on. They're paying good for PET plastic today." I didn't even know what PET was, but I followed them. We walked to the landfill on the west side of the city, where the trucks with sorted trash arrived. There, they taught me how to look for grease-free cardboard, how to distinguish good quality plastic, and how to tie it up so it wouldn't fall apart on the way. "This is polyethylene," Bertha told me, showing me a bottle. "It's worth more than PVC. Learn the numbers, they're on the bottom of the container." They also explained what time the buyers came and which ones paid in full, without trying to cheat you. "Mr. Lalo doesn't haggle, but if he sees you giving him wet material, he'll never buy from you again," Marie said. "And the guys on 8th Street will rip you off. Don't go there alone." We each carried our own sack. We used rubber ties, broken belts, whatever we could find to secure our materials. Our hands would be black, our nails broken, but no one complained. At noon, we ate whatever we could manage. I had stale bread with salt. Bertha shared a little rice wrapped in paper. One day, while we were fighting over a pile of cans that had just been dumped from a truck, Stella slipped. She fell hard, twisting her ankle. She cried out in pain. "Oh, I can't move it," she said through gritted teeth. Auntie Marie tried to help her up, but she couldn't do it alone. "Just leave me here, it'll pass," Stella mumbled, shivering. "No, ma'am," I told her. "You can't walk on that. We need to take you to the clinic." "Where is one?" I asked. "On 17th, past the tracks," Bertha answered. "But it's far, more than a mile." "I'll carry her." "Are you sure?" Marie said. "She's heavy." "It doesn't matter." I bent down and lifted her onto my back, just like I used to carry John when he was a boy. We walked slowly, but we made it. The security guard gave us a strange look, but they let us in. They gave her a bandage, some pills, and ice. "Thank you," Stella said softly, as I helped her lie down on a bench. "It's nothing. You'll be better tomorrow." I didn't collect anything that day. I didn't earn a single penny. But when I returned to the spot by the old truck, the three of them were waiting for me with a folded blanket. "You earned this," Bertha said, handing it to me. "We don't like lazy people around here, but we like selfish ones even less." From then on, they included me on the good routes, showed me which stalls threw out the most boxes, which stores left clean bottles outside. I wasn't the new girl anymore. I was one of them. And that's when I understood something. On the street, it doesn't matter where you come from, but how you act. No one asked me if I had a house, a husband, or children. They just wanted to know if I worked, if I helped, if I didn't lie. Those were the nameless days, without a calendar, but with clear rules: wake up early, be respectful, and share. Had been surviving for almost 2 years among cardboard, cans, and torn tarps. No one tells you when the normal days end and the nameless days begin. You just get used to it. I learned to tell the time by the shadow of the light pole and to sleep with one eye open in case the police came by. That morning, like every other, I went to look for cans behind the bus depot. There was always good aluminum there. When the drivers threw out bags mixed with food, I was bent over, sifting through a pile of fresh garbage when I sensed a pair of boots in front of me. It wasn't unusual. Sometimes inspectors passed by, other times some crazy person. But this time, I didn't move until I heard a voice. "Excuse me, is your name Marianne?" I froze. I looked up, slowly. I saw a tall, dark-skinned man, thin but with a strong frame, wearing a worn-out military jacket. He had a grown-out beard, and under the city grime, those eyes. "Is that you, Mom?" he said, his voice breaking. I didn't have time to say anything. My fingers trembled. I dropped the sack with a thud and sat down hard, right on the muddy ground. I didn't notice the people staring or the heat of the asphalt. I just saw him. "John," I whispered, my voice a thin thread. He knelt down, took my arms with both of his hands, firmly but gently, as if he were afraid of breaking me. "It's me, Mom, it's me. I'm here now." I hugged him. My God, I hugged him as tightly as I could. I felt his tears on my cheek. "I've been looking for you for months, Mom," he said into my ear. "No one would tell me anything. Lucy kept sending me pictures of the altar with your shawl on it, saying you'd gone back to the countryside, that you were fine, but far away she threw me out. John. She threw me out like a dog, with no papers, no anything. I figured as much. That's why I came back. I got special leave. I couldn't take it anymore. I dreamed about you every single night." We stayed like that for a few minutes. Then he helped me up. "Do you have somewhere to go? Where do you sleep?" "I have a place. Come, I'll take you. It's not pretty, but it's mine. Well, ours." We walked to the back of the market, past cargo carts, wooden pallets, and torn bags. When we reached the rusty truck where we slept, Bertha and the others were already heating water. "Marianne, is everything okay?" Stella asked, looking at the young man. "Everything's fine. This is my son." The three of them stood still. John walked over and shook their hands, one by one. "Thank you for not leaving my mom alone." "No, young man," Bertha said, adjusting her shawl. "Nobody leaves anyone alone out here. Only people with houses do that." We sat on the ground, on the tarp we used as a mattress. John took out a bottle of water and offered it to me. "Tell me everything, Mom. Don't leave anything out." And I did. I started from the farewell party. Lucy's sweet words, the pictures we took as if everything was fine. I told him about the landfill, Hugo's dirty laundry, the times I ate leftover meat from trash cans, the early morning walks to find something to sell, everything. Even the things I never thought I could say out loud. Once, I told him softly, I traded some unused sanitary pads that had been thrown away for a pound of rice. I was so ashamed, but I was hungry. He didn't interrupt. Not once. He just looked at me, his hands clasped, his lips pressed tight. And you never thought about looking for me? He asked quietly. Yes. But I had no way. She took everything from me. I didn't even have your number. I couldn't even write to you. How did you end up here? Bertha gave me bread the first day. Marie lent me a blanket. Stella taught me how to collect cans. Between them, they taught me how to start over. John turned to the three women and bowed his head. I thought I was leaving my mother with a wife, but I left her with a snake. Forgive me. It's not your fault, son. You did what you thought was right. No, but it is my duty to fix this. He took out his phone, took several pictures of the place. He recorded a video of me showing how I lived. What are you doing that for? I'm going to show everyone the truth. Not with shouting, but with proof. Bertha placed a cup of coffee in his hands. Don't overthink it, son. What's done with poison is cured with truth, Stella added, and what's left to rot, rots on its own. You two don't need revenge, you need justice. I don't want to hurt her, I said. You won't have to, John replied. She'll sink on her own when she realizes she can't lie anymore. We were quiet for a while, listening to the pot boil. So, what are you going to do now? I asked. I'm going to see her, to tell her I know everything, that I have it all documented, and that she is to never speak to me about you again. What if she plays the victim? I'll show her the photos, the videos. If she still doesn't get it, the internet will. You'll see. Before he left, he hugged me again. Don't go anywhere. Wait for me. That woman is not going to sleep well tonight. And he walked away, the sun at his back. Bertha put a hand on my shoulder. God may be slow, but he never forgets. Marianne. And children who are raised with love, they always find their way back to the nest, even if it's broken. The next day, John came to the house with a folder and a cell phone containing everything he had recorded, photos of our camp, my testimony, a copy of the transfer, papers I had signed without knowing what they were. The boy even brought a letter written by him. I don't want to stop the boy. It's time for the truth to come out. Later, when John told me about it, I learned that he arrived at the house at exactly 8 in the morning. Lucy was sitting at the table, eating toast with jam. Hugo was in a t-shirt scrolling through his phone. John didn't say hello. He walked straight in, no beating around the bush, and placed a thick folder on the table. Read it, he said curtly. Lucy looked up, surprised. What is this? It's everything. The truth, the proof, the lies, your name and mine. She opened the folder slowly. There were the deeds I had signed, the notarized documents, the dates, one paper after another. This means nothing. She signed it, Lucy blurted out. John didn't respond. He just took out his phone and played a video. My voice came through clearly. I signed it because she told me it was to receive mail from John. I didn't know I was giving her my house. Then he showed the photos. Me, collecting bottles. Me, sitting under the rusty truck. Me, carrying sacks with my hands black with grime. Hugo put his phone down on the table. He looked at Lucy. Is all of this true? Don't be so dramatic. It was just a temporary arrangement. She left on her own. Nobody kicked her out. John looked at him. Did you know she was living in the trash? That she was eating leftovers? I thought she was a distant aunt. She told me she was a lady who helped out sometimes, Hugo said, looking down. That lady is my mother, John said. The woman who gave birth to me and raised me on her own. Lucy clenched her teeth. So what? Are you going to make a scene? No, I already did last night, he replied, showing his phone. All of this is already on the internet. It's posted on my profile and in several neighborhood groups. And yes, everyone has seen it. Lucy shot up from her chair. You're insane. That's defamation. Defamation is what you did. This is justice. And I'm not here to fight. I just came to let you know. The video went viral. People in the neighborhood shared it on WhatsApp and Facebook. The building manager where Lucy worked as a legal consultant sent her a letter that same afternoon. This letter is to inform you that your contract is suspended until further notice due to matters of professional ethics. That night, Hugo packed his suitcase. He didn't yell. He didn't argue. He just left a note stuck to the door. I don't want to be with someone who's capable of throwing their mother-in-law onto the street. I thought she was your employee. You never told me she was your family. Lucy didn't leave her room all day. The curtains were drawn. The phone was off. A few days later, Mrs. Olga, the woman from the vegetable stand, stopped talking to her. The butcher wouldn't give her credit anymore. Even Mrs. Clara, who always defended her, would cross the street to avoid her. A neighbor shouted from his balcony, "No wonder the old lady wasn't in the pictures. You're disgusting, Lucy." One neighbor, who lived with her sick mother, was kicked out of the neighborhood watch group for supporting Lucy. The women at the market started calling her the motherless lawyer. One afternoon, while I was washing some bottles behind the chicken stand, I saw her, Lucy. She was wearing an old t-shirt, no makeup, her eyes puffy. She walked slowly, dragging her feet, and stopped in front of me. She didn't dare cross the rope that separated us. "Ms. Marianne," she shouted. I didn't answer. "Ms. Marianne, please, I just want to talk." The other women looked at her in silence. No one said a word. "I'm sorry. I didn't know what I was doing." I kept washing. I had a bucket full of cans and a tub of soapy water. Lucy fell to her knees outside the rope. "Mom, I didn't know. I was alone. I was scared." I looked at her for a moment, then looked down. Bertha came over and whispered to me, "Are you going to go out there?" No, she heard me when it was too late. Now she can listen to the silence. Lucy stayed there for a while, then got up and left. No one stopped her. 3 days later, John came back. He brought me the new papers. "They're in your name, again, legally, completely, no tricks. You don't have to hide anymore. Thank you, son." "I didn't do it for revenge," he told me. "I did it so no one could ever treat you like trash again. I want you to have your house. If you still want to go back." I put the papers in a clean plastic bag. I wrapped them in a napkin, as if they were warm bread. "We'll see. For now, nobody here looks at me the wrong way. And my bed, even if it's made of cardboard, can't be taken away from me." John smiled. "Whatever you say, Mom, but wherever you are, that's my home. Some truths don't need to be shouted, they just need to be shown, because someone with clean hands doesn't need words to prove it." After everything that happened, John made me a proposal. "Mom, there's nothing tying us to the city anymore. I want to start over, but with you." I didn't ask where or why. I just said, "Let's go." We got on a bus that crossed hills, rivers, and winding roads where you had to hold on to your seat. After hours, we arrived in a small town in the Blue Ridge Mountains, where the air smelled of firewood, damp earth, and fresh tortillas. There, an elderly couple rented us a simple wooden cabin, but it had a sturdy roof and a large window that looked out onto the forest. "Come on in, kids," said the woman, whose name was Carmelita. "There are no luxuries here, but there's peace and quiet," her husband, Don Lupe, added, as he handed us a key tied to a piece of twine. The next day, John went to introduce himself at the local school. They hired him as a Spanish teacher. In the afternoons, to help with expenses, he made cornbread and tamales to sell in the town square. "You don't worry, Mom, you just rest." But I couldn't just sit around. One morning, I took out my embroidery hoop, colorful thread, and began to stitch. At first it was flowers, letters, patterns. Then I started doing names, phrases, little birds. Every stitch brought me calm. "Mom, what you do is art," John told me one day. "It's just a hobby, son, to keep my hands from getting stiff. A hobby that can sell. What if we open something? A stall, a little cafe, with your embroidery, my cornbread. Something small." We said it jokingly, but the following week we were already cleaning out the small room attached to the cabin. Mrs. Carmelita gave us an old wooden table, which John sanded and varnished. Mr. Lupe brought us 4 little stools he had in storage. I sewed some covers from scraps of canvas and old sacks. John installed a small gas stove and a borrowed coffee maker. I decorated with my embroidered cloths, some small stitched bags, and a couple of napkins with phrases like "Made with love" and "So you'll remember your mother." The day we hung the sign was special. John wrote it with a black marker on a white plank. "My mother's hand's calf." "Isn't it too long?" I asked. "It's perfect. Do you know how many people have a mother but don't value her? This sign will prick their conscience." No one came the first day, but on the second, a foreigner passed by and ordered a coffee. He saw the embroidery and asked, "Did you make this?" Yes, sir. With thread and patience, I replied. He bought 2 napkins. Then, others came, backpackers, students, couples. Some came just because of the name. Who was the mother of the cafe, they would ask. And John, without stopping, stirring the pot of hot chocolate, would always say, the one over there, embroidering. Without those hands, I wouldn't be here. One Thursday, as I was cleaning the cup shelf, John came in with a letter in his hand. This came for you, Ma. The letter was wrapped in a piece of blue cloth, tied with red thread. It was from Bertha, written in blue ink on graph paper. Marianne, we're still at it here, but we're alive. Stella has a cane, but she's walking. Marie managed to get a shopping cart and now she carries more bottles. I don't scavenge as much, but I still sell a few band-aids and some advice. Every time I take out the little pouch you made me, someone tries to buy it. I'm sending you something. It's not much, but it's what's fair. Life takes, but it also gives. A big hug. Inside were 3 $20 bills, folded and wrapped in plastic. Who's it from, Mom? From someone who gave me more than bread. She gave me solid ground when I didn't even have a shadow. I put the letter in a cookie tin next to a photo John had printed for me. In it were the 4 of us, Bertha, Stella, Auntie Marie, and me, behind the market. All of us with dirty hands, but with life in our eyes. Are you going to hang it in the cafe? John asked. No, this one is just for me. I'll hang it here. And I pointed to my chest. One afternoon, a young couple came in, sat in the corner, and ordered 2 coffees and a piece of cornbread. They looked at the embroidery and asked, what does the name of the cafe mean? John smiled. It means there are hands that, even when wrinkled, still serve, that love doesn't fade, it's just woven differently. The young woman approached me. Do you do custom embroidery? Of course, dear. What do you need? I want a pillowcase that says, thank you for lifting me up, Mom. I took her hand. She pressed it to her chest. What a beautiful place, and what you do is beautiful. There are hands that give birth, hands that work, and hands that heal. But there are hands like ours, that have done it all without asking for anything. Just a hot coffee and a roof that no one can kick you out of. That morning, the cafe was packed. John was bustling in and out of the kitchen with trays of cornbread and pitchers of freshly brewed coffee. I was in my corner, with my embroidery hoop and my threads. I was stitching a new phrase onto a white napkin. We don't serve luxury here, but we do serve respect. A French tourist was asking what it meant. John was explaining it to her, in his own way. Is like, here, you don't need money to feel welcome, he said, as the young woman nodded with a smile. Suddenly, the tinkle of the bell on the door made me look up. Not all the way, just my eyes. The feet that crossed the threshold were slow. They weren't wearing heels or in a hurry. They were shuffling. Lucy. She was wearing a gray sweater covered in pills, baggy pants, and a messy bun with loose strands of hair. She wore no makeup. Her face was thin, gaunt, and her eyes were like 2 dry wells. I watched as she stopped for a second, took a deep breath, and walked toward me. I said nothing. I lowered my eyes back to my embroidery. I heard her footsteps approach, and then I heard her kneel in front of me. Silence, a long one, until finally, she murmured, I know I don't deserve to be here, but I needed to see your face, even if you don't say a single word to me. I didn't look up. I've lost everything, she continued. My job, my friends, even my pride, and I didn't come to make excuses. I just came to ask you to listen to me one last time. She took a deep breath and lowered her voice even more. I treated you like a dish rag. I used you. I kicked you out. I erased you. And now that I'm on the floor, I realize how much you were worth. She paused for a few seconds, then said, I thought that having the house meant having power. But a house without respect is just a roof. And a family without truth is just a performance. She looked down at my hands, which were still stitching. I didn't understand what those hands were. Today, I do. John came out of the kitchen right then, drying his hands on his apron. He saw her, stopped in his tracks, and without a word, walked to the counter. Lucy noticed. I'm not asking you to forgive me, John, or to even talk to me. I just came to admit that I was a coward, and that I was wrong about your mother. Then she looked back at me. Ms. Marianne, I don't expect you to believe me, but ever since you left, nothing has gone right for me. I tripped over my own lie. I put down my embroidery hoop, placing it on the table. I stood up. She lowered her head, as if expecting a blow or a scolding. I stood in front of her, The people in the cafe were speaking in hushed tones, as if they sensed something important was happening. "Lucy," I said firmly, "I don't hold any hatred, but I am not the same woman you left on the street. That woman doesn't exist anymore." She looked up. She wasn't crying, but you could see the words caught in her throat. "I'm not asking you to hug me," she whispered. "I just wanted to see you with my own eyes and know that you're okay, that you survived." I survived, yes, because the street is a quick teacher, and the truth, it always finds a way. I have no right to come back. I know, you're right, because forgiveness isn't a ticket back in, it's the closing of a door. I placed a hand on her head, not as a caress, but like someone placing a final stone on a grave. "I wish you well." John was still behind the counter, silent. Lucy turned to him. "Take care of her." I didn't know how. He just held her gaze for a moment. Then he turned back to the tray of cornbread, as if to say, "There's nothing left to talk about." Lucy stood up, brushed off her pants, and walked out slowly. No one in the cafe clapped or commented. The sound of cups and the wind whistling through the wooden slats returned. A few minutes later, a hummingbird flew in through the window, landed on a shelf, and stayed there for a moment. John saw it from the kitchen. "Mom, did you see that?" "Yes. You know what the old-timers around here say, that when a hummingbird enters your house, it means someone is carrying the truth in their heart. Well, today it brought us two things, truth and an ending." I sat back down. I picked up my hoop and continued to embroider. John served me a coffee. "What are you going to stitch next?" A new phrase. You don't bow down out of fear, but to pick up what's worth saving. "We'll hang that one by the door. But first, let me finish it," I said, "because every stitch takes time, just like life's lessons. Sometimes, life brings you to your knees, but it's not to humiliate you. It's so you can look at the ground you're standing on, and know exactly where you never want to fall again." The first rains of the year came early. The sky had been gray since before dawn, and the drops beat against the tin roof with a rhythm that reminded me of my mother kneading dough in the kitchen. I was in my corner, embroidering the name of a baby girl who would be born in September. Her mother, a young woman who came every Thursday for a hot drink, had asked me to put "Light of the Soul." I told her it was a strong name. She replied that it was so her daughter wouldn't grow up in the shadows. John had already left. He now worked half a shift at the school and half a shift at the cafe. Sometimes I saw him more in his apron than in street clothes, but he always came back with the same light in his eyes, the one he hadn't had for years, the one that was stolen from him when he thought his mother was far away, at peace, when, in reality, I was among the trash, surviving on stale bread and dirty bottles. Today I woke up with a weight on my chest, not of pain, but of memory. It had been exactly 3 years since I walked out with a plastic bag and soaked feet, not knowing where I was going. I didn't say it out loud, but I knew as soon as I opened my eyes. Today was a day for closure. I put away my embroidery hoop, cleaned the table, and put on my blouse with the red embroidered flowers, the one I wear when I want to feel whole. I went out onto the porch. The air smelled of damp earth and green wood. I took a deep breath. There was no one outside, except for an old dog that always roams around, looking for a dry spot. I crossed the town square. I walked on the side where the bougainvillea grows crooked and the sidewalk is broken. I passed the little shop where we sell our napkins, nodded at Mr. Chuko, the baker, and kept going. I arrived at the town cemetery. I wasn't there to visit anyone. I just sat on the wall, looking at the names on the tombstones, most of them handwritten, with letters already faded by the rain and sun. There, I took out John's letter, the one he left me the day he went to his deployment, the one I swore not to open until he returned. But when he came back, I no longer needed it. And now, with everything I had lived through, I decided it was time. I opened it with trembling hands. "Mom, if you're reading this, it means I'm not close by anymore. But I want you to know that every step I take with you in my heart. You are my strength. I don't know what will happen, but I just want you to take care of yourself. Don't let anyone push you around. Don't let your light go out. And if you ever feel like you have nothing, remember me, because I have you. And that's enough for me." I folded the paper carefully. I didn't cry. I didn't need to. I tucked it into the hem of my blouse, where I used to carry a scapular. I stood up, dusted off my pants, and walked back slowly. That afternoon, when I returned to the cafe, John was cleaning the counter. He looked at me and understood without asking. He just said, "Are we doing something today?" "Yes." But not here. We're taking the cornbread to the shelter. Every Thursday, the women's shelter opened its doors to mothers with children, elderly women with no home, and young girls escaping something they couldn't even name. John baked 20 pieces of cornbread. I prepared coffee in 2 large thermoses and wrapped some napkins with embroidered phrases. You deserve a place. No one will silence you again. Your story isn't over. When we arrived, Ms. Litchett, the woman in charge, greeted us with a smile that seemed to both apologize and give thanks at the same time. They set up a table for us, and we began to serve. One of the girls, who couldn't have been more than 17, asked if she could keep a napkin. Which one do you want? The one that says, "My story is just beginning. It's yours." She folded it carefully and tucked it into her bra, as if it were her only defense. Before we left, Lecha took my hand. "Thank you, Marianne, not for the coffee, for showing them that there's a way back." I nodded. That night, back at home, I sat in front of the open window. The air carried the smell of a wood fire. John was preparing more dough for Saturday's bread. "Mom, what are you thinking about?" "I'm thinking about the things that remain." "Like what?" "Like the smell of your grandmother's shawl, the voice of a woman who didn't shout but made herself heard, and the certainty that what doesn't kill you embroiders." John laughed softly. "That's a good one. Maybe I'll stitch it." "Where will you put it?" "At the entrance, so that whoever comes in knows that this house wasn't built with walls, but with endurance." A week after the visit to the shelter, a letter was delivered to me by hand. It had no return address, just a brown envelope, folded carefully. A young man who got out of an unmarked truck, wearing a cap and with a shy look, handed it to me. "Are you Ms. Marianne?" "Yes, son. I was told to give this to you. That's all, and that you should read it alone." I nodded. He left without another word. I waited until I was in the kitchen, with the door closed, to open it. Inside were 2 things: a handwritten page in blue ink, and a $500 bill. "Ms. Marianne, I have no right to write to you, and even less to ask you for anything. I just want you to know that since I left your house, I haven't found peace. Not work, not friends, not the street can take away the chill that you used to cure with just a hot cup of tea. I have no one. Hugo left me. My family closed their doors on me, and even at the market, they turned their backs on me. You taught me what respect was without ever saying it. I destroyed it. This money doesn't pay for anything, but it's the only thing I can do without expecting a response. What you gave me was priceless. Forgive me for not understanding it sooner. Lucy." I folded the letter. I placed the money on the table, without touching it. I looked at it for a long time. I thought about everything she owed me, not material things. She owed me a peaceful old age, a hot bowl of soup, the right to walk through my own house without fear. But I also knew, in that moment, that she didn't owe me anything more, because what I lost with her, I had already recovered in the days I lived after. John came into the kitchen and saw the envelope. "Is it from her?" I nodded. "What does it say?" "Nothing we didn't already know. But it's useful. It's proof that she understood, even if it's late." He saw the money. "What should we do with this?" I thought for a second. "Take it to the shelter. Let them use it for the women who arrive with nothing." "Are you sure?" "Yes. Let something good come from it, even if it comes from a dirty past." He did it that same afternoon. He came back with a peaceful look on his face. We didn't speak of it again. The months passed. The cafe grew. It didn't become a big business, but it became a constant. People knew where it was. The town's children came for cookies on Sundays, the elderly for bread and conversation. One day, a group of tourists even came and proposed we do embroidery workshops. I couldn't say no. I started with 3 women. I taught them to stitch names, flowers, phrases. Then, more came. Some cried while they sewed. They said they didn't know a thread could pull out what they had stuck inside them. I believed them, because it happened to me too. John started writing. Stories, mostly. The kind he said TV would never tell. He would read me excerpts at night while I counted napkins. Once he told me, "Mom, your story is a book." "No, son, my story is a scar, and scars are touched, not printed." But he kept writing anyway. He said it was so he wouldn't forget. One random Sunday, a young woman of about 30 arrived. Dark-skinned, her hair pulled back, a torn backpack, and lost eyes. She sat in the corner, ordered a coffee, and stared at the embroidered phrases on the walls. I approached her. "Are you looking for something in particular?" She shook her head, but she didn't move. Do you want to embroider? It took her a moment to answer, but she said yes. I gave her a blank napkin. She looked at it as if she didn't know where to start. I handed her a red thread. Do you have a phrase in your head? She took her time, but finally, she wrote in pencil, may I at least have the strength to get up again. I nodded. That one, my child, is the most valuable of all. She stayed all afternoon, embroidering in silence. Before she left, she hugged me without a word. She left her name on a piece of paper, Teresa, and the number of a payphone where she could receive messages. That night, as we were closing up, John asked me, do you think she'd come back? If she has something to heal? Yes, the ones who arrive wounded never fully leave. They always leave a thread behind. After all, that's what I did. I picked up my thread, not to sew what was broken, but to start something new. Today I embroidered a different phrase. It wasn't for sale or to be hung up. It was just for me. Here my pain began, but here my peace began as well. I put it in the drawer under the counter, where we keep the things that aren't for sale, only to be passed down. Tomorrow, I'll embroider another, because life goes on, and hands don't get tired if the heart is no longer afraid. We tell this story based on real events. The names and places have been changed to protect the identity of the person involved. It is the story of a mother who sacrificed her entire life for her children and grandchildren, only to be despised, used, and abandoned in the end. But when she had nothing left to lose, she rose up. And this time, she lived for herself. We don't tell it to judge, but so that whoever is listening might stop and think, how many mothers are suffering in silence inside their own homes? Now, I'm curious about you, who are listening to my story. What would you do if you were in my place? Have you ever experienced something similar? Let me know in the comments. In the meantime, I'll leave 2 other stories on the final screen that are favorites of the channel, and that will surely surprise you. Thank you for staying until the end.